Hi everyone, good evening. Welcome to Gnan Cloud Garage. In this session, I'm going to talk about interview preparation, session 3, day 0 design, day 1 deploy, day 2 operations and lifecycle. And here is the agenda. What are the technical consultant roles and what are the key roles of cloud team and what is industry experience and how to get started with the technical skills and what is the key technical skills classification and what are the day 0, day 1, day 2 and day n activities and what are the design phases and design decision frameworks, and I will give you the example of vSphere design process and what are the key topics for day 2 operations. This is the agenda for today's session. And if you see the right side diagram, here is the complete overview picture. If you see the day 0 means design and day 1 means deploy and day 2 means all our IT operation activities and day n means life cycle management. But in general, if in our IT infrastructure, any projects, it's a consider in the day 0, day 1, day 2 and day n terminology. So try to familiarize this terminology. Day 0 means the initial design. So whenever we plan to start any new project, during that time, that consider as a day 0. And that time we have to prepare our architectural design, and also we have to do the planning, and all. And when we once the planning is ready, if you plan to implement, that is nothing but a day 1 deploy. So during the deploy stage only, we have to install and configure, and the management again it will comes in the day 2 operations task, and day n is nothing but we have to perform the all the updates, necessary updates and upgrades. That is a high level overview. But before understanding the day 0, day 1, day 2 and day n task, we have to understand some foundational topics. That foundational topics I cover first. That after the foundational topics we will go to the actual topic, day 0, day 1, day n activities. These foundational topics, the first question is, what are the technical consultant roles? In our previous session, I explained this question. Just quickly recap. The technical consultant roles are like a level 0, level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. These levels are defined based on our total IT experiences. In general, less than 2 years of IT experience is like a fresher or beginner and systems engineer designation. And more than 2 years of IT experience, we may get the consultant role. This consultant roles also like a cloud consultant, DevOps consultant, or nowadays they can give you some technical consultant roles also, but that is equivalent to the systems engineer and consultant role only. And if you have more than 3 years of IT experience, we may get the senior system engineer and the senior consultant. And similarly, if you have more than 5 years, technical lead subject matter expert, and more than 8 years, we may have a multiple choices. We can choose either managerial role, or if you are interested in technical, we may go for a solutions architect role or technical architect role. Why we are defining all these levels is, when we are attending the interview depends on our IT experience. We should be ready and prepare with all the necessary skills, not only our core competency. Along with our core competency, we should have some brief idea on our dependency skills also. Suppose you have a core skill is networking, and with networking knowledge, when we are attending for interview, we should have some idea on basic storage and basic compute knowledge. Suppose if your core competency is compute, we should also have some basic knowledge on networking, basic knowledge on storage. That will be added advantage when we are attending for a next level of interview. Suppose our current designation is senior consultant. We are planning to move for a technical lead or subject matter expert. During the subject, when we are expecting a next level role, definitely our skill set is not enough. We have to update our skill set, or at least we should have some basic concepts. It will be helpful to crack the interview. Okay. Now, same like technical consultant roles in our organization, there is a specific roles for a cloud team also. So what are the key roles of cloud team? So even in the cloud team, nowadays these are all the most common. roles. So let's start with the first one is business leader, and second one is project manager, and fourth one is this project manager and business leader. It's a known terminology. Even we have in our previous, even 10 years ago also we have a same kind of designations, business leader and project manager. But the latest one, most of the roles are changed in front of their role, like consultant and engineer. The system and all technical and all replaced with your name is terminology changed to cloud. So all names designations are changed to cloud engineer, cloud security specialist, cloud analyst, and also cloud compliance specialist, software developer, cloud architect, solution architect, technical consultant. And also there are some roles are like a hybrid cloud architect and public cloud architect, private cloud architect, customer delivery architect. There will be so many types of designations also available. I just given you a brief idea. Why we have to know about all the team information is, we should also have a team information, team structure. This will be helpful for you, our main SOW, statement of work, so that it's easy to understand when the interviewer given any of the scenario based question. So whom we need to approach in which scenario, whom we need to contact for that scenario, those differentiation we can understand if we have a team structure information. Okay, now let's go to the another question. What is your industrial experience? In general, this question we may expect this question from managerial interview, or some cases HRBP, HR department, HR questions. They will ask this question: what is your industrial experience? During that time, whatever the industries you have already worked, based on your industry experience, you can mention those specific industries. Let's say, for example, there are eight priority industries like automotive industry, education industry, financial services, government, and healthcare industries, manufacturing and energy, media and communications, retail and consumer foods. Suppose you're working for a some banking project. So banking project means you are comes under the financial service industry. So you can mention that I have a so and so experience in financial industry. Suppose if you work for a multiple two companies, one company is related to banking sector and another company is related to a government sector. During that time you can mention that I have my initial career started with a financial industry and later on I moved to the government industry. I have along with these two industries I have total so and so years of IT experience, like that you can mention. Okay, so I just given an example why. And also you may got to know think that why this question they asking, there will be some reason. In general, HR and manager they will ask this question. Main thing is, generally employees expect that if you have any experience in the industry, specific industry, you will not need as much formal training during the onboarding process, like joining time. If you are already coming from the same industry, you are going from a one bank to another bank, or you are coming from one government sector project to another government sector project, in general you know what is the formalities, what is the usual approval process and all, you are already familiar. That during that familiarity only they will ask this question. They will just ask what are all the industries you have covered until now and which industry you are going to join. Just for understanding purpose only they will ask this question. And employees need to better recognize manageable skills and capabilities, so that they will have some imagination how much experience you have, how you can handle. And even they assign you some project related to your education project or automotive project, or if they have some project related to healthcare, if they are trying to assign that project, they think that okay, this person have already have a relevant experience, he can able to handle the healthcare project. Like that they will get the some big picture. When they ask this question, you have to provide whatever industry's experience you have. You can just prepare some short summary and explain in the interview. For example, I just given a priority industries overview in this slide. Like healthcare, you can just explain about your healthcare provider and what pharma and life sciences you are working. That portion you can explain when you are belongs to the healthcare industry. Suppose if you are belongs to any of the automotive industry, you can explain your automotive industry products information, and where that automotive industry, what is your IT scope, and how many infrastructure, how much infrastructure you are handling, and how many team members are reporting to you, or how many how many team structure we have in your team, and how you, what is your main key roles and responsibilities in the team. That portion you can explain. Okay. And similarly to the other industries, financial services, media and communications, and also the government. Okay, I just given a I just for our easy understanding I given a summary, but you can prepare a short notes before attending the interview, depends on your industrious experience. Okay. And now let's start with the another question: how to get started with technical skills. So this is one common question. uh, just based on my experience earlier, almost in 2000 2009, I learned the VMware vSphere. So with that vSphere experience, almost more than 10 years, I managed to work in the IT industry only with the Windows plus vSphere skill. And later on the IT industries completely changed the IT infra digital. After digitalization, the transformation is keep on moving from our on premises to private cloud, public cloud, now hybrid cloud, multi cloud. Even the technologies keep changing. Suppose 10 years ago if you learn one skill, there is a guarantee to get a job. But now today's digital era, that situation is changed. That technologies keep changing. Instead of updating in a 5 year or 10 year, technology keep changing within a month, days also. So we should be keep up to date our skill set. And even if we have one core competency, one main core skill also, that is not enough to get the job, especially these days. So we have to update our skill set. Whatever the core skill you have, just along with that core skill, you can add on some additional skills so that it's easy for us to get into the job. And also even when you search in the job portals like LinkedIn, Monster, Naukri, any of the other job portals, seek.au, any of the other job sites, if you search with your desired job role, and if you see the job description, almost of the 90% of all the job descriptions are not asking for a single technical skills. They are asking for a multiple skills, and those skills also have a different combinations. So these days I am also receiving some questions and also some emails from our viewers. They are asking these questions. I have only this set of skills, but the job description is asking for so many skills. How are I going to handle? So in order to address that situation only, I'm explaining this question: how to get started with technical skills. So there is a three-step process: learn, try, and connect. The first one is learn. Normally, if you compare the most of the job description, 90% of all the job description, if you compare one by one, all are these combinations only. I just given a high level picture here, and the in detail information I am trying to explain in the subsequent slides. So in here, the first key thing is operating systems. So everyone must have a operating system knowledge, that is important. And the second thing is virtualization. So virtualization also booming technology. So we should have at least one virtualization skill. Even if you compare few job description, they may have OS information, they may have one virtualization tool, and they may have at least minimally one cloud. Some organization job description, they are asking multi clouds also. Like they are asking for AWS, Azure, GCP in the same job description. But and also container platform, at least one container platform they are asking. And automation, it's like a ocean. There will be so many plenty of tools available in the automation. So and the finally applications. So within these six combinations only you can find most of the job descriptions. But here my key point is, let's say you have one core skill within these six learning skills. Let's say you have core skill is in virtualization, vSphere virtualization. And if you want to get a better job, or if you want to get a better earning, or you want to go for a next level of role or designation, the only thing is this vSphere server virtualization is okay to get the job. But if you want to move up for a next level, remember that we require some additional skill. That skill can be either a cloud related skill, or it can be a container platform, or it can be a automation. So that platform you can choose depends on your interest. Some may be interested on automation, and some may be interested on container platform. Whatever you feel flexible, just start learning that one. Because In this competitive world, one skill is not enough. Definitely we have to update our skill set. Okay, even including me, I'm also few of the skills I'm also not familiar. I started learning whatever I have the idea, those skills only I'm trying to explain here. Okay, and now the key second key point is try go with the minimally two skills. If you are attending for interview, minimally you can go with the minimal two skills, but the recommended is more than three skills. Within these six combinations you can have minimally two, and recommend is three or more than three to get a better opportunity and connect. So finally or eventually join your dream company. Suppose you are working in a product based company, you are interested to move to a other company within a product based company, the best number one leading product based company. If you want to join that company, during that scenario you have to update the skill set. Okay, now whatever I mentioned here, the operating system, virtualization, cloud, this and all I will just classify in the following slide. See, what is the key technical skills classification? So classification, I just divided into the four parts. So let me show you one by one. So technical skills, part one. Let's say compute. Normally compute is nothing but a servers, IT servers infrastructure. So servers infrastructure, before attending the interview, you must have what is your servers or your organization is using the server. Those servers, you must have a server model information. For an example, I just mentioned as HPE Synergy, HPE Proliant, and third point is other third party hardware like Dell, IBM, Fujitsu hardware, Unisys, and so on. But in the interview perspective, my key point here is if your organization is using some hardware models, either HPE, Dell, IBM, any other third party vendor, you can just have a list of your organization currently using server models. That model information you may expect interviewer may ask, what is your infrastructure and can you explain your server models? That during that scenario you have to provide your actual current using server models information. So make a note, your short note before preparing the interview. You just prepare your short notes. In that short notes you can keep it your server models information. That is the one important point. And another point, any of your core skill, let's say VMware vSphere and Microsoft Hyper-V and Nutanix AHV. I just trying to highlight server virtualization. If you have a experience on VMware vSphere, you can get ready with your current vSphere hands-on experience latest versions. Suppose your organization is using vSphere 6.7, but already in the current market we have a 7. So before attending the interview, you can just make a note what is the your hands-on experience version, and as well as what is the current market latest version, and make some short notes, and also understand the differences between vSphere 6.7 and vSphere 7, and what is the main changes, what's the new in vSphere 7. Those points and all you can make a note. Okay, and same applicable to Hyper-V virtualization and Nutanix AHV, Acropolis Hyper-V. Same way you can make some notes on the server virtualization. That's how you can prepare. That will be helpful when they ask some cross questions on your current version and latest version and comparison and all. It's easy to answer. Okay, and let's talk about the another tower. Let's say another tower is network. Even though if you are coming from a server virtualization background, we must and should have some basic experience on network equipments. Network equipment, as we know, the main key equipments are switches, router, firewall, and also the load balancer. But for example, I just mentioned as Aruba switches and Mellanox switches, Cisco switches, and load balancer. Generally load balancer popular one is F5 load balancer. So whatever the switches, router, load balancer, firewalls are using in your current organization, you just make a short note of models also. Whatever the models you have or whatever the brands you are using, those brand information you can just make a note. Okay, and why this information is needed is normally the troubleshooting purpose when you are working in the our day to operations, it may require, let's say during the weekend our network team performed a switch upgrade. After the upgrading the switch, they may have an intermittent network disconnection issue on your ESXi host level. So you may receive the alert from the monitoring tool, and immediately you will get a call says that ESX host is intermittently disconnecting, even it's impacting our production virtual machine. During that time, if you are going to vCenter server and verifying the all ESX host health status and virtual machine status, if you have some idea on what is the recent activities performed in your organization, using that clue also you can find the root cause. Suppose here the clue is last Sunday they did the networking switch upgrade. So that is only the most recent change. Apart from that change, you notice that there is no other changes. So if you have some basic networking information and networking knowledge, it is easy to help you to understand. You can immediately contact your network team and ask them to validate the respective switch, and immediately they will do some bug fix or they may do some break fix. And then once you back to vCenter server and verify the SXI host and virtual machine status, the current situation may back to normal. So this is kind of common troubleshootings we may receive in the day-to-day basis in the real IT infrastructure. Most of the time, whatever we did the recent changes, in the changes, if anything not performed well, or if there is any compatibility issues or some scenarios after upgrade, there may be some product bugs. That bugs also causes these issues. Okay, so if you have some basic network equipment information, it's easy for you to understand, okay, where the connectivity is losing. Its connectivity is losing at the vCenter level, or losing at the ESX DV switch level, or it is in the physical network layer. That portion you can easily track, and you can also do the packet capture on a ESX level. Okay, that is the reason we must have some idea on a networking skill. Okay, now let's come to the network virtualization. Network virtualization, as we know, still the current some of the organization they are using VMware NSXV. NSXV means network virtualization software, or we can say network hypervisor software. It's mainly for vSphere. So this vSphere one, and it going to expire by next year January. Technical guidance going to expire by next January, but product end of life is already this year January 16th. And now NSXT is the latest one, and NSXT currently we have the latest version 3.2, and this 3.2 is compatible to run on on-premises, private cloud, public cloud, and anywhere you can run. And if you also have knowledge on an NSXT, it will be beneficial to get a better job. And another tower is storage. Even storage also, whatever the storage you have hands-on experience, you must have maintain some short notes about the storage information. For example, I just mentioned as HPE Primera, HPE Nimble, and also HPE Store ones. Not only this limited to these three, there will be a plenty of storage vendors. Whatever the storage vendors you have the information within your short notes, you can also include the storage concept. You can mention what is the storage you are using, what type of versions they are managing, and what protocols they are using. Are they are using FC SAN, iSCSI SAN, or NAS? Those information you can maintain. And coming to the storage virtualization, we have VMware Virtual SAN. That is one of the popular storage virtualization product. And another one is Nutanix AOS, Acropolis operating system. This is also we can use for a Nutanix storage virtualization. So whatever the skill you have on the storage virtualization portion, you can include that one. Not only these two, even VMware also have another storage virtualization concept that is called virtual volumes. That one also you can maintain some information about storage virtualization concepts. And within this slide, if you see, there will be a multiple tools and products, and in the interview or in the job description you may not find all the same information. You may find some server model, any one virtualization software, and some network tools, and also some network virtualization tool and storage virtualization tool and storage. These all six combination you may find in the job description. Suppose job description have this six combination, six towers combination, but you have core skill on compute server, and also you have basic on storage. But during that scenario also, you no need to worry about and don't get panic. If the job description have so many tools also, no need to worry. If you have minimally 50%, or even if you have 30% of skills, your skill set is matched to the job description, you can straight away apply the job. Okay. And you may ask the question, what about my, I do not have skills on the NSXT, but how can I apply? You can just say, I have the experience until now on the server virtualization, storage virtualization, but if your project demands, or if you give me an opportunity, I can prove myself. And also if you arrange any of the internal training, I can update myself to the network virtual. Like that, you can give a confidential answer. You can show your confidence and interest in the interview, so that there is a chances of shortlisting. But I'm not saying 100% you will shortlist. That is also depends on the how many persons attended for that job. Suppose if there are four persons are in queue, within that four they may choose definitely the best person. But remember that if the interview asks for a 10 questions, you should give your best answer at least minimally 50%. Five questions, if you give a best answer, you will be in the you will crack that interview, or you will be get into the better offer in that organization. Okay. This is about the technical skills part 1, high level towers, compute, server virtualization, network virtualization, storage and storage virtualization. Similarly, let me go to the technical skills part 2. So in this part two, more onto the cloud and container platforms. Let's say private cloud. Nowadays, private cloud also booming business. Organizations also keep migrating their IT infrastructure from on-premises to private cloud. But this private cloud, there are some popular tools like HP also have a private cloud, that is Green Lake Central, and VMware have VCF, VMware Cloud Foundation, and Azure Stack HCI. This is also one of the private cloud software. And Nutanix also have Nutanix Com, and AWS also entered to AWS Outpost. Usually AWS and Azure both are popular public cloud, but they are also entered to the private cloud market. Okay. And within the private cloud, if you want to do any of the container platform, we have a container platforms also, VMware Tanzu, HPE Ezmeral, and Red Hat OpenShift container platform. Just an example I given, the version is 4.10. And these are all the container platform within a private cloud environment. Suppose my organization currently using private, but in future they are planning to explore a public cloud. Even public cloud, the most popular three public clouds are AWS, Azure, GCP. Not only these three, even nowadays IBM also have a IBM cloud, IBM public cloud, Oracle also entered to the public cloud business, and even some other vendors also already entered to the public cloud. But the top three is only these three. But as a technical consultant role, you, if you are interested in public cloud, at least start learning one skill. Any one public cloud, if you start learning, the other one, only the terminology different, concept is completely same. Even private cloud also, if you start learning VMware VCF, the other concept understanding is pretty simple. Okay. At least you can start learning one skill. It will be depends on your organization. Your organization is already moving to public. When you get the opportunity to public, just start learning the public. Or if your organization is moving from on premises to private, start learning the private cloud skill. And same way, same as our container platform in private cloud, and public cloud also have a some container platforms, like AWS have EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service, and Azure also have Azure Kubernetes Service, and Google also have Anthos. These are all the container platform in a public cloud environment. Okay. Now let's talk about a hybrid cloud. Some organizations, they already migrate, they are started using a mixed of private and public. If you have a combination of private and public, that is nothing but a hybrid cloud. Within the hybrid cloud services, one of the popular one is Microsoft Azure Hybrid, that is Azure Stack Hub and Azure Arc. These two are the popular combination for a Azure hybrid cloud tool. And also VMware also have a some hybrid cloud services, that is VMware VMC on AWS, VMware Cloud on AWS, VMware Cloud on Azure, and similarly VMware on Google Cloud Engine, Google Engine. That is all. Within these three, any one tool also, if your organization is using, better to update that skill. That means you already have vSphere skill. If you're learning AWS, it will be a added advantage. Okay. And now, after the hybrid cloud, the latest technology is multi-cloud. Multi-cloud is nothing but, yeah, if your organization is using, apart from hybrid cloud, any additional public or private, if they are using, the combination of hybrid plus any cloud is nothing but a multi-cloud. In order to manage a multi-cloud environment, we require a tool. Suppose if you are using AWS public cloud, only we have only single console to connect to the AWS. But if your organization using Azure also, To maintain this two console within a single console, there is no specific tool. To address that situation, we have some third party tools like Morpheus, one of the multi cloud management tool, and VMware VRA, vRealize Automation, also multi cloud management supported tool. So these two are the competitors. Even whatever the tools I mentioned, definitely there will be a competition among them. Okay, even customers also, as a solution architect, if you're engaging any customers conversation, customer may ask for a, can you please show us some container platform. We have to provide a demonstration for all the container platform, but the end of the day depends on the customer's budget and depends on the customer's business application compatibility. They will choose any one of the private cloud. Okay, so that's how it's takes place. But in the part two technical skills also, if you have even in the job description you may get some combinations, but whatever the combination, if you have at least one or two skills, straight away you can apply. Okay, let's go to the technical skills part 3. So it within this part 3, I'm focusing on a operating system. So operating system, I just highlighted three flavors: Microsoft Windows Server 2022 or any of the later versions, and Red Hat Linux Enterprise Linux 9, Solaris 14, and later versions. Not only limited to these three OSs, there is a other PVM. PVM means pre-configured virtual machine and virtual appliances. This operating system, as a system engineer or technical consultant or cloud consultant, we must and should have at least one operating system knowledge, minimally one OS. If you have more than two means, that will be a added advantage. And after the operating systems knowledge, we should also need some automation tools like DevOps, CI CD tools, continuous integration, continuous development tools, like you can use Ansible, Terraform, whatever you are familiar, you can start learning the DevOps tools also. And also scripting also it require for the automation: Power CLI, Python, PowerShell. You can use Go language. At least you should start building up any one automation skill that will be added for benefit for your profile. And comes to the data protection solution, every organization they have a data protection solutions, that is nothing but a backup and restoration. So for backup and restoration, I just highlighted 7 tools. So but not only these 7, there are plenty of backup tools. These tools are like Veeam, Rubrik, Commvault, NetBackup, Networker, EMC Networker, Jetto, and IBM Spectrum Protect. So at least you should have one minimum one knowledge on data protection solution, because nowadays as a systems engineer or cloud consultant, we should aware how our organizations all the systems data is backing up. This systems backing up generally in a multiple ways. It's like a full VM backup, that is one scenario. And scenario 2, we are taking a operating system level backup, and the third scenario is only the specific file level backup. So with this three scenario, you used to take the backup, whether it is a virtual machine or a container or a physical bare metal server, whatever it is. But the backup methodology is like a full system backup or file system backup or any of the specific files backup. This only we can take using the data protection solution. But the benefit of latest data protection solution is you can take the backup and archive, you can keep it in anywhere. You can keep the archive in a private cloud environment, you can keep the archival data in a public cloud environment. We no need a old model kind of tape library and all. These days completely is changing, and even the data protection solutions you can use it for a on premises, and the same tool is supported for a public cloud also. Okay, and now other tools are like a software defined storages. This also required software defined storages when you are planning to keep your archival data, or if you want to keep your test and development or any of the new project related data. During that scenario, it requires to know about software defined storage concepts. So I just highlighted few concepts here: Cumulo, Cohesity, Scality, Cloudian, Commvault, HSX. These are all the some best examples for the software defined storage. Okay. And similarly, desktop virtualization, some organization, while they are providing a job description, they may also expect some basic knowledge on desktop virtualization. So desktop virtualization also, they may give any combination. One popular desktop virtualization from VMware is VMware Horizon, and also Citrix Xen desktop. Any knowledge may useful, but even though when the job description, if you do not have knowledge on this, but you have knowledge on other skills, no need to worry, you can just right away apply that position. Okay. And later we can start learning, it's not a big deal to update our skill set. And other tools, apart from all this skill set, there will be some tool. One of the important tool is monitoring. And every organization, in order to maintain the IT infrastructure up to date, and always we have to keep an eye on our complete data center infrastructure, including physical, virtual, and cloud. All these areas we can use some tools to monitor. I just given a four examples. VMware vRealize Operations Manager, it will cover the all the infrastructure monitoring. And similarly, third party tools, SolarWinds NPM network performance monitor, and Nagios CA NIMSoft, these are all the monitoring tools. Suppose if you are organized using a different monitoring tool, you can just better maintain that monitoring tool information with version, and what is that monitoring tool capabilities. If that monitoring tool covering all the infrastructure, you can better make a note it. But some scenarios, let's say if your organization is using VMware vRealize Operations Manager, this vRealize Operation Manager specifically for a VMware virtual products. Suppose if your organization have a HP Synergy Blades and HP ProLiant servers, this VROps can able to detect the server down status using ping monitoring or ICMP protocol. But some scenarios, in order to identify the specific hardware related problems, VROps may not compatible until the deep dive hardware peripheral part failures level. That scenario, what we have to do is we need to go with the other additional monitoring tools. Like if you are using a HP Synergy, we need to use HPE OneView. OneView is like one of the blade chassis management tool. It will also help you to perform update and upgrade, as well as if there is any hardware errors, it will immediately send a notification to your team members. Same way, Dell also have a Dell Open Manage, Dell IT Assistant tools, and similarly even Fujitsu also have a Fujitsu RMC tools, remote management console. Using that tool, we will receive the remote alerts in case of any hardware issues. Okay. Now let's move on to the another technical skills part 4. So in this part 4, I'm trying to explain some additional tools like security management tools. Every organization, they are managing a security management. Even recent news also, ransomware is again occurred some of the organizations, and there will be some immediate vulnerability released, and we have to perform the patching for latest ESXi host. Okay. So for security also, one of the key important concept for security in general in the organization, what they will do is they are using some VMS tools. VMS tools means vulnerability management tools. I given one example is QualsGuard. This is one of the vulnerability management tool. Not only this, you can use any other third party vulnerability management tools. And we should also aware of LMS tools. LMS means log management system. For LMS tools, I just mentioned two examples. vRealize Log Insight is one of the tool, and another one is SolarWinds Kiwi syslog collector. This will also centralizedly collect all your infrastructure logs. You may ask the question, what is the benefit of ERLI? In general, your vCenter server, ESXi host, virtual machine, your infrastructure may maintain the log level is default grace period is like a minimally 1 month to 6 months time only. Suppose if your company organization standard to maintain your last 1 year data or last 2 years data, our existing tool will not support to maintain a past data. Immediately it will clean up the old logs. But to avoid that situation, what we have to do is all your old archival logs we can send it to a centralized log server. That centralized log server can be vRealize log inside, SolarWinds Kiwi syslog collector, or you can use any of the other third party log collector. But syslog collector tools are, we should have some basic knowledge on syslog collector tool information. And similarly, another security management tool is KMS encryption. KMS means key management system encryption. Normally, some organizations they maintain a physically they maintain a KMS physical devices. This will help you to do encrypt your ESXi host and virtual machines data. This using the KMS servers, we can maintain your encrypt. You can manage to encrypt all your virtual machine. KMS information, if you want to enter in your vCenter level, select the ESXi host, go to the configuration tab and enter your KMS server details there, so that it will start encrypting all your virtual machines VMDK files. Okay. And another security management tool is antivirus software. Every organization, they have some antivirus tools to protect their all the systems from the network threat protection as well as the antivirus for the protecting from viruses. For antivirus software, even before attending the interview, if your organization using some tool antivirus, just make a note of the tool and version information, because some interview you may expect some questions related to the security management tools. Okay. And also there is some additional tools are database as a service. Even though if the job description didn't mention about database, interviewer may ask, do you have any experience on databases? Whatever databases you have some minimal experience or already have working experience, those database information you can mention. I given four examples: Microsoft SQL, Oracle database, and PostgreSQL, and also IBM DB2. So whatever the database tool, if you have experience, those tools you can mention. And also make a note of the which version you are using. Those versions also important. And patch management tool, again, in order to maintain the life cycle management, organization must use some patch management tools like Red Hat Satellite to patch all your Linux workloads, and Microsoft SCCM System Center Configuration Manager. This tool also help you to patch your Windows servers as well as Linux and other physical servers also can able to perform patching using SCCM console, System Center Configuration Manager. And some normally small organization, they may use WSS because it's a free tool. Using WSS also we can perform the patching. And IBM Big Fix, this is a name itself says it's IBM tool. Big Fix also one of the patch management tool. Not only this four, we have so many other tools also like GFL and God. And we also have from VMware perspective, we have a VLCM, that is vRealize Lifecycle Manager, that will help you to patch your ESXi host and virtual machines, VMware tools, and data store upgrade and all we can perform using LCM. And other tools like applications, we must have some knowledge on application, what are all the applications our organization is using. Here are the examples are ServiceNow. Generally ServiceNow we can use for any of the IT service management, like incidents, submitting the incidents, raising the CRs, service requests and all we can maintain using ServiceNow. Or we can use, some company may use Remedy. Okay. And CyberArk also one of the tool for CyberArk access management system. This is for a screen recording. For security reasons, some government organizations or some financial industries, they may use the CAM system. Whatever the activity you are performing on a production servers, all the information will be recorded. That is for a security reasons. That is a software name CyberArk. And VRNI. VRNI is nothing but a vRealize network insight. This tool is mainly to packet capturing your network from source to destination, vice versa. And this is the information. This tool is very useful when you are performing a network level troubleshooting. And similar VRNI kind of tool is third-party tool name is Gigamon. Okay, both have a similar functionality. Not only these four apps, if you have any additional knowledge on your project related applications, those information also you can start updating in your CV. And shared services, even in the organization have a technical skills, we also require some skills on shared services like SaaS products, software as a service. Example is Microsoft Office 365. And if you're organization using any SMS notifications, like any SMS related tools, you can have a note on that SMS tool information, SFTP tool, and also the SMTP mail transfer protocol tools information. And apart from this, there is some other tools like RV tools we can use to export our virtual infrastructure data. And also Microsoft Visio, we have to use some architectural diagrams and all, we can use Microsoft Visio. And Windows debugger to analyze the memory dump, and also Perfmon to verify your operating Windows operating system CPU and memory performance status. And SSH for connection to ESX and also the Linux servers, Solaris servers, we can use PuTTY. And for normal data copy from Windows to Linux system or ESX, we can use WinSCP. And for the scripting and all, we can use PowerShell. And Postman also we can use for when you want to verify, connect to your network device or anything using the API, we can use the Postman tool. And also Notepad++, some if you want to verify all the scripting information to, or if you want to read all the logs information, we can use Notepad++. And apart from these tools, there will be some tools related to ACS. ACS means application code scanning. Some nowadays most of the DevOps related tools are all are developed with some codes. These codes also, before moving to the production, we need to use some third party tool to scan your code is completely error free code. Then only we can move it to the production. Okay, we should have some idea on application code scanning tools also. If we see all our technical skills part 1 to part 4, we verified almost more than 100 kind of tools. So if we, with this simple example, if you noticed 100 tools in your resume or in your job descriptions also, when you see the job description, definitely they will keep so many tools, but we no need to worry. You just identify which is your main core skill, and apart from that, if you have minimally one or two skills also you have knowledge, definitely you can apply that position. Okay, so this is about the all the foundational topics for our day 0 day 1 activities. Now let's back to our main key topic is what are the day 0 day 1 and day 2 and n activities. Here n is nothing but a day 3 day 4 and so on. Okay, n means any number. So let's try to understand the day 0 day 1 day 2 and day n activities. The high level information is day 0 means most of the time we have to do the design part. That is a day 0 design portion, architectural design and planning, everything we can perform in a day 0. Day 0 is nothing but before starting the project. And day 1 means, let's say already project is finalized, we already choose our solution. Let's say our solution is any one solution like vSphere solution. Prepare your vSphere design and start deploying the vSphere. So vSphere means you can buy the servers, buying portion also cover under day 0, and the deploy means install and configure. So all the install and configure you can do it for a ESX. And how our vSphere admins do concentrate on server, network team will focus on network equipment, and also we have to focus on the other environments like storage, network, whatever the tools just now we verified. Like a security team will focus on security, and also the other teams, like if we have a tools team, they will focus on the monitoring and so on. And day 2 is nothing but a operations. Whatever the infrastructure we deployed on day 1, the complete implement, once the implementation is completed, this entire infrastructure daily maintenance and support is taken care by operations team. That is called day 2. And even this day 2 operation, apart from day 2 operations, there may be a for example, Microsoft release the security patches every month second Tuesday. So that patches we have to test, that update and upgrade. Maybe some months they may release only patching, after few months or after 1 year they may release the upgrade versions also. For all your updates and upgrades will be covered in a day n, which is life cycle. Okay, so this is the high level overview, and let's go for a deep dive what the main key items in a day 0 design portion. So in a day 0 design portion, what we can do is requirements gathering. Let's say you are attending for your customer. So when you are attending for a customer meeting, customer may tell you all their business challenges. So when they are highlighting their business challenges, you can make a note of all the requirements information, what the customer is expecting and what the customer business challenges. This all comes under the requirements gathering. And use cases. Use cases is nothing but we need to ask the customer what their expectation. Let's say customer is currently using a on-premises IT infrastructure, and they have a plan to move their infrastructure to private cloud. So we have to provide you some solution which is the best solution for private cloud, or they want to move their infrastructure from, they are already using virtualization, but they want to use a full-fledged software defined data center, or they want to implement a hyper converged infrastructure. The reason is their hardware storage and hardware is going to expire because this project was started 5 years ago. normally every 5 years the hardware licenses will be expire. So when they're going for a tech refresh, every organization they think for a what is the latest trend. Based on the latest trend, they may move their technology to the next level, and also they may move all the old servers data and the tech refresh time. They may also do a new servers buying process. During that time, they will tell you, when we go for a customer conversation, they will explain all their challenges, and also they will explain you what their future plan. Based on their requirement, we have to present the use cases. That use case is nothing but a, suppose the customer expectation is they want to implement a STDC environment, software defined data center. So our use case can be, we have to show the use case. When you plan to deploy a VMware STDC, you may get the benefit of using a, for compute virtualization we can use vSphere, for network virtualization we can use NSXT, and for storage virtualization we can use, what is the storage virtualization one is virtual SAN. But customer also, when we present the solution, what is the main benefit of STDC use cases and all we have to present. Use case is nothing but the specific STDC, all the capabilities we have to show and tell the demo to the customer. When they see the show and tell demo using the use cases, they may review and they think through whether this infrastructure is suitable for their business applications or not. Some scenarios, if they're suitable, the design will be finalized. Some cases they may come up with some questions, we need to do some changes based on the customer requirement. Okay, and once the use case is finalized, customer is satisfied with our design solution, they may go for a architectural and design diagrams. Even during the architectural design diagrams also, customer may ask for some question. They may always look for a security, whether this architecture design they meet their security compliance or not. That is a key point. And also capacity planning. Let's say they, when they are planning for a tech refresh, or when they are moving for a new infrastructure, or they are planning to start a new branch in a other country, during the time, based on their requirement, we need to provide all the sizing information. That sizing information includes compute, network, storage, and also the other tools. This and all is nothing but a capacity planning. And also capacity planning not only hardware and software information, it also includes a application software metering, and also it includes a racks, cabling, all the vendor management information also we can include. But capacity planning mainly focused on the hardware infrastructure. How many servers we needed, how many switches we needed, how much storage capacity is needed, all we can prepare it during the capacity planning process. So I give an example during the design scenario. The example is STDC, software design data center. Suppose customers plan is they want to move to a cloud. The cloud can be either private cloud, or they plan to move to a public cloud. That is also same, whether the customer interest or requirement is whatever it is, but the day 0 design process includes all these four key items. We have to gather the requirement, we have to provide the use case, depends on the customer's relevant choice. If it is STDC, you can provide STDC use case. If the customer looking for AWS, you can show the use case of AWS, what is the main capabilities of VPC or capabilities of EC2, and all you can show in the demo time. And also architectural design we have to prepare depends on the customer's choice. Let's say customer is expecting, he want to need a minimally two sites, so site A, site B. And during that question, requirements gathering time, we need to ask the customer whether you want to maintain as a both sites are active sites, or one site is active, one site is passive. That is also depends on the customer's requirement, we can prepare the architecture diagram. If the customer asks for both active, you can prepare architecture with active structure. And design also should be active design. And the capacity planning also, accordingly based on their customers requirement only you can choose. Let's say customers requirement is 100 virtual machines. For 100 virtual machines, you can minimally prepare a 10 ESX host, and 5 ESX host on one side, and another 5 ESX host on another side. Like that we can prepare. Okay. And also the configuration and hardware model, which model they are interested, the budgeting and all, based on the budget, customer's budget, we need to provide those specific hardware model, network, and switch accordingly. Okay. And this is the day 0 design process. And why we are discussing this point is, even in the interview, when you are attending for a solution architect role or L3 subject matter expert role, you may expect some questions on design related questions. So for the design related questions only, I'm explaining all this information. They may ask, what is your key gatherings when you are attending for a new project? That time you can explain all these points. Okay. And the second key portion is day 1. Day 1 is nothing but a deploy. During the deploy time, our main important items are prerequisite validation. So whatever the requirements we meet, all the requirements we have to validate, like hardware compatibility checks, and also whether the your hardware is okay, but our hardware equipment must compatible with your software, must compatible with your storage, must compatible with your security softwares, and all compatible checks we have to perform. That is nothing but a prerequisite validation with all associated products. And install and configure. Install and configure is common for all the tools. Just now we discussed about the multiple tools. For compute, we have compute infrastructure. Virtualization, we have virtualization infrastructure. Network virtualization. Whatever the project we have, for each component, compute means, let's say our server is HP server. We should know how to place the server in the rack and how to configure. That knowledge is needed. And once we place the server in the rack, we have to aware that HP, if it is a HP server, configure ILO. After configuring the ILO, connect the HP server through ILO and start installing your ESXi operating system. So installing the ESX, once installation is completed, we have to configure the ESXi operating system, like configuring the SNMP, configure the SSH, enable the NTP, whatever the configuration we discussed in our previous session, vSphere configuration, all that configuration we have to perform. It's not only for ESX, the same scenario applicable for network switches. Even network switches also we need to place it in the rack. They have to configure some VLANs, and same way for routing, and same way it's applicable for security components. It's applicable for monitoring equipment, even monitoring products. If you are using SolarWinds, we have to aware during the day 1 deploy time, we should know how to install the SolarWinds and how to configure the SolarWinds. And once its configuration is completed, we have to prepare a alerting for all your infrastructure. So install configure means it will cover all your infrastructure layers. It's include hardware, compute, network, storage, security equipment, monitoring, and also the other applications and tools. Okay. Now VMS setup. This is also one of the key part. VMS means vulnerability management system setup. Every company they may use some company related vulnerability tools. The tools also plays a key role, because every organization the security is one of the main benchmark during the deployment stage. So we should, based on the company's choice, we can choose this, get the specific VMS tool, and we have to set up the tool. And another thing is configure monitoring and logging. Monitoring and logging also very important during the deployment stage. Once this is ready, your infrastructure is completely built up, then what we have to do daily means, that is nothing but a day 2 operations. So here example what I mentioned here is STDC install and configure. And similarly, if it is a cloud design project, we should say mention as cloud deployment. Now coming to the day 2 operations, within the day 2 operations, we have to perform performance monitoring. IM means incident management, CM means change management, CMDB means configuration management database. These are all the process we can follow during the operations. And also we can perform maintenance and support, and VMS and remediation. Suppose VMS means your vulnerability management system detect some defectives in your infrastructure, ESX and vCenter level. Those defects and all, the provide do it a remediation or mitigating those issues and all, our day 2 engineers responsibility. Day 2 engineers, we can also call it as a operational engineers or ops team. Normally ops team will taking care of all the mitigation issues. And example is STDC operations, because if your project is STDC means we call it as STDC operations. And if your project related to cloud operations. Now come to the life cycle. Life cycle can be a after the day 2, day 3, day 4, and so on. This and all considered as a day n. Let's say your project is planned for 5 years. So day n is nothing but a 5 years. Until 5 years, we have to do this life cycle activities. This life cycle activities mainly include updates and upgrades, and backup as a service, and a disaster recovery as a service, and also add-on services. Any of the additional add-on services. Suppose your project is for 5 years. Within 5 years, beginning of first year, there will be no additional applications. Maybe after 2 years, your company started growing, you plan to introduce some new applications. That is also comes under as a add-on services. And resource reclamation, normally as part of the life cycle, resource reclamation also one of the key item. Following slides, I will show you what is importance of resource reclamation. And example, STDC updates, cloud updates. Normally life cycle means every monthly there will be some security patches for OS layer, ESX layer, vCenter layer. Sometimes it's a monthly, sometimes it's a quarterly basis, we have to perform the necessary updates. Even hardware layer, we can get the firmware, and OS level patching, ESX level ESX patching, and depends on the principal vendor releasing. We have to test it in a QA first, and followed by we can test it in the production. But in the interview perspective, they will ask you what is your patch management process, or what is your lifecycle management process in your organization. Then you can start explaining, like most of the organization, 99.99% all organization, they have one standard procedure. That procedure includes, they first test it on a QA environment or test and development servers, and once the test is success, then only they can move it to a production environment. That same procedure depends on your organization structure, you can explain in the interview with systematic manner. Okay, so this is about the high level overview of day 0, day 1, day 2, and day n activities. Okay, the same model is applicable for software developers as well. For example, in this example slide, the software lifecycle in the cloud age. Even day 0 for software developers also, the first day 0 activity is planning and design. And day 1 will be include development starts, that is nothing but a continuous integration. And day 2 includes continuous development, operations, customer service. Once the application go live, there will be a, these all the activities: observe, orient, decide, act, and sometime if there is any bugs and all, feedback loop iteratively to the again back to continuous development. So whatever we discuss day 0, day 1 and all, it's applicable for all the projects. This is the standard procedure. Okay, now let's talk about a day 0 design phase in the following slide. Once we understand design phase, we'll go for a day 1, day 2. So during the design phases, what type of designs we can do is, it includes mainly a three designs. One is conceptual design, and second one is logical design, and third one is physical design. Conceptual design, in our previous vSphere classes, I explained you the how the conceptual design diagram for storage. So same way, we have to prepare a conceptual design based on the customer requirements. So it have a conceptual design consists of requirements, constraints, assumptions, and risks. And when comes to the logical design includes decisions, justifications, implications, and diagrams. And physical design means mainly the specific hardware specification and configuration. If it is a any HPE server or any of the Dell server, you can mention the specific Dell server specification and what is the configuration information. Same like network equipment, storage, and so on. Any of the security equipments. And again, within the design process, conceptual design, these points, let me try to explain in the following slide. So design process includes requirement, constraints, assumptions, and risk. These points are pretty useful when you are attending for any of the advanced design exam. These points are very beneficial, and also for solution architect interviews also these points are useful. And requirement is nothing but a customer requirement. The organization must comply with security regulation. Most of the organization, they should follow security regulations. And the underlying infrastructure for any service defined as strategic must support a minimum of 4 nines of uptime. That means organization, all the service must maintain monthly basis 99.99 uptime. Even the point one there is downtime, it's acceptable. If your uptime is 98, means you are already breached the SLA. And constraint means business objectives and requirements, and regulatory compliance issues project schedule, that is also constrained, and the training and skills that are required. Suppose your organization is started building a network virtualization which includes NSXT product. Let's say your network team and your server virtualization team, they do not have experience on NSXT. That is nothing but a one constraint. And your organization is started implementing any of the other tools like application code scanning. That application code scanning, even application team also first time they are hearing the tool. That means that is also one constraint. And budget constraint affect the design. Suppose customer, when we provide a one design solution, customer may not have that much budget. That is also one constraint. And involvement of remote offices. Suppose sometime when we initial discussion, customers say only two sites, site A and site B, and after the planning stage and design, when we produce, customer may thought of keep one site will be in any of the remote location. He want to add some additional third location. That is also become as a one constraint. That's why involvement of remote offices. They want to involve some existing remote offices. It become as a constraint because we already prepared some architecture and also the design. So when they adding some additional information, it will become as a constraint. And organization policies that affect the design. Sometimes organization policy, for example, our servers are HPA server and we may recommend to configure a HP ILO, but customers say it's a government project, they are not ready to configure a remote management. They want to keep it as a dark site. That time our design plan, we have to remove all the ILO configuration part. Okay, that's how. And security requirements, even some organizations, they don't want to access the servers directly, they want to access all the servers through CyberArk system. That is the security requirement. Okay. And assumptions risk. Assumptions are design components that are assumed to be valid without proof. And also the data center uses shared networking hardware across production and non-production infrastructure. That is a risk. And the organization has sufficient network bandwidth between sites to facilitate replication. That means it's a assumption only. Apart from these 3 points, and there is another key thing is design decision frameworks. These keywords also very important: availability, manageability, performance, recoverability, security, and cost. The importance of all these points, let me cover in the following slide. So when we are doing a design justifications, we should be aware scalability. That means, does the solution expand for future growth? We should also think about the future growth. Just a normal example, even if you're planning to buy a laptop, when you are planning to buy your personal home laptop also, we are thinking about the advanced configuration, whether this processor is latest i7 or i9 processor, or the RAM is more than 16 GB or not, and hard disk with minimally 1 TB or not, whether this laptop have a warranty or not. Even for our personal home laptop, we are checking so many configuration and all the future thing we should think about while buying. Similarly, in organizations also, when they are planning to start a new project, whether it is a STDC project or cloud project, they may think for next to 5 years. So what is their actual requirement for next to 5 years? Based on the requirement only, they will do the all the scalability plans. And availability is nothing but a continuously available. Normally in our IT infrastructure, availability, we should implement on all the every layer. We have to implement the availability features. Like in our vSphere, we have a HCA fault tolerance, and even in the physical layer we have NIC teaming, and also we can maintain a load balancing mechanisms. That's all cover under the availability portion. So here point is, does the solution ensure that services are available to meet business goals and requirement? This is a question the customer will verify when we provide a availability solutions. And manageability, is it flexible? Does it make operations simpler or more complex? When we provide one architectural solution, they will think that whether this is easy management solution or it's a complex. Is it require again additional trainings and all? And performance, does it affect infrastructure performance? Definitely we need to provide some performance benchmarks. And security, is there any impact to overall security? Because customer have some security regulation, is this solution meet their security regulations or not? And the recoverability, how fast we can recover our infrastructure, that information also we need to include in our design justifications. And cost, is it in the budget? When will ROI be reached, return on investment when it will be reached. All these items we need to include in our design justification. Excuse me. Now the next point is trying to show you one example for vSphere design. Normally in vSphere design, what we can do is most of the time we can verify in the vSphere perspective there are five design components. These five design components includes management, virtual machine, compute, network, and storage. When we are providing a design, these are all the design thoughts. For management, how we can provide design is we have to deploy a vCenter server appliance. This appliance can be in a, you can deploy through ISO or you can deploy through scripted based installation using JSON file. And virtual machine, how many templates we needed, how many flavors of OS we needed, this and all we need to include in the design. And the content library, what are all the main application ISOs we have to keep, those and all we can keep it in the content library. Content library can be centrally accessed for your all remote sites. And placeholder shell and also third party auto build, any of the, if you want to use we can use. And the compute, we need to embedded ESX we can use, and auto deploy host profile and scripting. And networking perspective, we need to be decide whether we plan to go with a vSwitch or we want to go for a distributed switch. During the initial stage itself we need to finalize the switch configuration. And also if we are using a VDS distributed switch, we should maintain the DV switch backup. That is nothing but exporting the VDS configuration. So it's useful for backup and restore. And storage perspective, we should decide in the day 1 itself, day 0 itself, whether we are going for a FC SAN, iSCSI SAN or NAS SAN. In this design screenshot example, I'm just trying to show you a virtual SAN. Virtual SAN means we have to configure a SPBM, that means storage policy based management. So all the policies we have to configure for objects based storage, and we need to configure the tags like for test VM test tag, development VM development tag, production VM production tag. And our main storage volumes we can configure a virtual volume, and you can also create a vSAN data stores. And the data store sizing and all, during the initial stage itself we need to configure. Some customers they may recommend make it every data store minimally with 5 terabyte size, or some customer they may go with the 2.5 terabyte. Depends on the requirement, you can make it all the values and update in the design document. This is a just a holistic idea I given from this slide. Okay, so until now we talk about the day 0 design and also day 1 deploy. Deploy, install and configure, we are already familiar of all the installation and configuration. Now let's talk about the what are the day 2 operations. So in our day 2 operations also there are 5 key topics that we look at when we consider a day 2 operations. This is important point. The process to streamline means make more efficient operations. These 5 key topics includes the first point in our day 2 operations is best practices. When our day 1 team hand over the project to your day 2 team, as a day 2 engineer or as a day 2 ops team, our responsibility is we have to validate our infrastructure already meet the best practices or not. And the second thing, whether we are maintaining the baseline. Baseline means it's a standard benchmark, and we can say that understand norm. Okay, and recovery. Our existing new project, once the day 1 team already completed the implementation, we need to validate, we need to do some testing, how with least effort we are able to recover our infrastructure or not. And fourth one is monitoring, and which monitoring tool we are using. The monitoring tool main purpose of monitoring is problem detection. And finally the key concept is troubleshooting. So troubleshooting is mainly for problem solving. Whenever the monitoring tool it's generate an alert, that alerts only our ops team is working on to do troubleshooting. Okay, so before going for a further troubleshooting concept, this is the complete overview of day 2 operations, 5 key topics. Okay, and the best practices, let me show you in the following slide. I'm trying to explain these 5 points one by one. The first point, best practices. See, the best practices means before implementation, design and deploy time itself, our organization team will follow the standard best practices. When the day 1 team hand over the project to day 2, again we have to do cross verification of all your best practices. Best practices is nothing but we need to cover all the layers. Hardware level, we need to verify the best practices. For example, our hardware is any of the HP, Dell or IBM, any Fujitsu, any other hardware. This hardware is running with latest firmware or not. That is one best practice. And ESX, suppose ESX is running with the latest version of patch or not. That is one best practice. And network also we have to validate that whether the network speed is up to date, network speed is optimal level or not, and also network IO control, what is the IO control enable or not, and storage IO control enable or not. These and all as per the VMware best practices we have to validate. Similarly, if you are using other third party hypervisor, or if you are using other third party tools, network devices or security management tool, those tools also every vendor have their some certain best practices guides. Based on their best practices checklist, we have to validate in our infrastructure, okay, whether we meet the best practice or not. Then what is the benefit of maintaining the best practices? We will start with the best practices mainly for optimization, and we can utilize it efficiently, and it will provide a high availability, continuously available. For example, if we didn't meet the best practices, suppose our day 1 team already did the project on 3 months ago. After 3 months it's handover to day 2 team, but within this 3 months duration no one did any patch. So that means we are already a 3 months old patch. Our servers are running with a 3 months old. It includes ESX also 3 months old patch, VMs also running with 3 months old patch. When we are moving that environment to live, go live, or we can say onboarding this virtual machines to production, there may be a chances of vulnerability effects. And even there is some standards when we are moving the virtual machine to production, always recommend to run a vulnerability scanning. When we run the vulnerability scanning, definitely you will get all the vulnerable, all the systems are showing as a it's running with a out of date, all the patches are superseded patches. So what we can do, only the recommendation is we have to update our all the infrastructure to latest patching. Okay, if it is not latest patch, you may get the performance degraded warnings, and also avoid troubles. So if you maintain the best practices, definitely it will avoid the all the troubles. And let's recall one uh, proverb. We already know one famous proverb is well begin is half done. So if you follow all the best practices, definitely our most of the project activities are completely half done. Okay, so this is a high level overview of best practices in day 2 operations. Now let's move on to the second point, which is baselining. Understand norm is nothing but a standard benchmark. So why to baseline? The main thing is why to baseline is it's a pattern, understand the standard benchmark, and trend, help capacity planning, and impact is understand application and service impact. The key to baseline is mainly for performance data, application performance data, resource utilization data, and capacity data. And reference data can be a time reference, hardware difference, reference, and event reference. This is the benchmarking for all infrastructure layer. Okay, so now let's talk about a third day 2 operation item, which is recovery. So within the recovery main benefit, main intention is with least effort. So this is the icon for recovery. Here I'm trying to explain one by one. Normally in our IT infrastructure, main key components, that means hardware components, all our servers, storage, data, and site. So we have to protect every level. So let's understand one by one. Suppose components level. Components level means protection at every level, conceptual diagram. So I'm trying to show you one conceptual diagram. Let's say here we have a components, two components. If you observe here, two NIC cards and switch. Normally to maintain the NICs also, to protect your hardware level, we need to maintain minimally two NICs and configure NIC teaming. Same way, if you have a storage switch and if you have a HBA card, even for HBA card level, we have to configure storage multipathing. NIC teaming is nothing but a teaming of multiple NICs. In case of one NIC is down, we can able to connect from the another NIC. Even storage multipathing. Multipathing means we have a dual path. Even one path is down, we can able to access our storage using the second path. That means our physical hardware component level also we have a high availability solution. Even recoverability is very quick. Even one network down, immediately we can access from second NIC. Even one HBA card down, we can connect from second HBA. That is the importance of components point. Now let's understand the server perspective. Even server, normally we recommendation is we should configure the ESXi host with multiple virtual machines, and even ESX purpose is to create a multiple ESX level. Also we have to configure a DRS, distributed resource scheduler. The purpose of DRS is it's a load balancing mechanism. Whenever ESXi host is overloaded, our VMs are automatically migrate to another host using vMotion technique. As we know, vMotion means moving the running virtual machine from one ESXi host to another ESXi host. And similarly, another key feature is DPM. DPM purpose is distributed power management. Even this will also help us in case of any ESXi host is in ideal state, it will immediately power off the ESXi host and keep it standby. Whenever ESXi host is needed, again DPM will help us to bring up online automatically. That is a benefit of DPM. So this features also helping us to maintain the load among the multiple ESXi host. Suppose ESXi host is down, how we can rectify our virtual machine? During that scenario, we have to configure another feature that is called high availability feature. High availability is one of the vCenter cluster feature. And similarly, another feature is fault tolerance. Fault tolerance compared to HA and FT, the main difference is HA is providing 99.99% availability. That means there is a minimal downtime. But when it comes to fault tolerance, it's provide a complete zero downtime. Okay. And interview, they won't ask you direct question what is HA, what is FT. They may form you some scenario. From that scenario only they will ask which feature is suitable. So you can try to understand whatever the scenario they are explaining. If you understand the logic, it's easy to answer. For example, let me take a scenario. Customer interviewer, they are asking the scenario is, I have a 10 ESXi host in my cluster, but out of 10 ESXi hosts, I'm noticing every time 2 ESXi hosts do not utilizing complete CPU memory resource utilization. So how you can optimize this infrastructure for that, specifically to maintain infrastructure stable, healthy, and as well as my requirement is all ESX hosts should be utilized completely. But I noticed there are a couple of hosts are not utilizing properly, underutilized. So what is a feature you recommend to do? We can say, immediately we can say the answer is we have to notice that we have to validate in our vCenter level whether this 10 ESX host running what wherever the cluster it is running, we have to verify is that cluster enabled with DRS or not. If we enable the DRS feature, it will balance the load automatically. Still, if there is any underutilized ESX host, the recommendation is we have to enable a DPM feature. When you enable a DPM feature, whatever the ESXi host, either one or two, if it is completely unutilized and ideal state, it will automatically place it into the standby mode. So that's how we can answer. They will give you a scenario. You can understand the scenario and explain with our vCenter features. Okay. Now let's try to understand the another concept, that is storage. So storage level, how we can provide a recovery solutions. In our storage level, normally we have a concept called storage vMotion, moving the running virtual machine from one data store to another data store without downtime. That is a usual procedure. But if you want to automate that storage vMotion feature, we need to configure a storage DRS, that is in a storage level. That is the one solution. And another solution is VMware also providing a concept called vSphere replication. If you configure vSphere replication also, the data will be replicated from one data store to another data store. That is one solution. And another one, third party backup solution. Even you can use third party backup solution to do the backup. And vSphere data protection. This is the official VMware data protection tool. You can use either third-party backup solution or VMware vSphere data protection, mainly to maintain your storage backup. If you have a storage backup, in case of any unexpected issue, or if a storage has corrupted or anything happen, any incident occur, we can easy to recover using your backup tools. Okay, so that means we covered the storage also. Same way in our design, we should talk about the data also. Data also we can able to recover using backup solutions. Now, how about the site? Let's say within the site, if you want to maintain the full site backup, and how soon we can recover means, again we require a recovery tools. One of the VMware recovery tool name is VMware SRM, Site Recovery Manager. The name itself, it says Site Recovery Manager. Even though if your entire site is down also, we can manage to recover using Site Recovery Manager. Okay, this is the protection at every level. So our end goal will be, our vSphere makes it possible to reduce planned downtime and prevent unplanned downtime and recover rapidly from outages. Okay, this is the third day 2 operations key item. Now let's talk about the, we almost covered all the high level recovery protection. Now let's talk about the monitoring and troubleshoot part. So monitoring is the fourth key item in day 2 operations. Troubleshooting is the fifth item. Always monitoring and troubleshooting both work together. Like monitoring whatever the alerts we configure, those alerts only we get the notification. Those notification only we have to work in the day-to-day basis during the troubleshooting. Excuse me. See, the monitoring side, the main thing is we have to configure alerts. The main purpose of monitoring is problem detection. So what to monitor? Mainly we have to monitor the availability. Availability for all the devices. All devices means compute, network, storage, security, and so on. And the key performance indicators we have to monitor, and the capacity also we have to monitor, like storage capacity and network bandwidth utilization and all we have to cover. And how to monitor is, mainly we have to prepare a holistic dashboard, one centralized dashboard which covers all your infrastructure. Every time we can keep it in the ready in our network operations center. We can keep it in a big monitor. Everyone we can watch it every frequently. In case any alert occur, immediately we can contact the respective team. If it is a server alert, need to contact server team. Network alert, contact network team, and so on. And also we need to monitor through APIs also we can monitor, through CLI also we can monitor, and also log based monitoring also available, like VRLI, vRealize login site, and also we can use other third party tools like Splunk. And some one example for monitoring tool is vRealize Operations Manager. Okay, and when comes to the troubleshooting part, we can use so many options to troubleshoot. Just an example, I mentioned few troubleshooting tools. RV tools, one of the reporting tool, it will help us to find out the, if the virtual machine is down, if you want to identify this VM is how many virtual disk are running and what is the MAC address of that VM, those information we can find it using RV tools report. Okay, some of the key previous past information, if you want to find it, this reporting tool will be helpful every time during the troubleshooting scenarios. And the trace flow also, do if you any of the network is having a intermittent disconnection, during that time we can use trace flow. And also IPFix, port mirroring, VRNA. VRNA, as I mentioned, it's a vRealize network inside. It will help you to do, and when the traffic flow from source to destination and vice versa, wherever the packets are dropped, we can easy to trace using the VRNA. And the use cases is nothing but a complete end-to-end troubleshooting. Now troubleshooting will be like a, it's a important concept. Let me explain you the troubleshooting process in the following slide. See, in the troubleshooting process, three steps for test and development scenarios. Normally, for testing and development servers or testing and development devices, we need to follow the three-step process. But if it is a production, we have to go with the additional two steps. Okay, let me explain the test and development scenario troubleshooting process. So, first thing is we have to define the problem. Second step is identifying the cause, and third one is solve the problem. Suppose the first one is identifying the symptoms, gathering the information. Let's say we received a alert says ESXi host is down. When that is the problem, When the symptom is like a gathered, we already gathered the information, ESXi host is down, and identify the cause. So identify possible causes. When the ESXi host is down, what is the main possible causes are? Either it is a hardware issue, or ESXi host operating system issue, or virtual machines are fully utilizing the host hardware. So ESXi host is hung. There is a three possibilities. Okay, apart from these three, there is a chances of environmental issue also. Suppose all of the sudden the data center rack, the specific rack, there is a power outage. There it may be happen, some environmental challenges may happen. That time also ESX may hung. So this is a identifying possible causes. So when you identifying possible causes like this for hardware issue, ESX issue, or VMs level issue, or some environmental issue, immediately you can cross check one by one which is the actual causing the issue. So determining the root cause. Let's say, for example, in the TSXi host, there are 10 virtual machines are running. All virtual machines backups are initiated at the same time. When the 10 virtual machine backups are initiated, it started consuming the high CPU, high memory. So it may causes the ESXi host hung, and it may start utilizing CPU over 90, memory over 90. All of the sudden it become a unresponsive state, so that our monitoring tool generate a alert says that ESXi host is down. So how we can resolve this scenario is, only thing is, let's try to connect the ESXi host using the command prompt, or if it is not connecting from command prompt, connect to the direct console user interface and try to restart the hostd agent service. How we can restart hostd agent service is etc slash init.d space slash hostd space restart. When you run the restart command, it will restart the host agent service, and ESXi host is start responding. And even monitoring tool also, it will send you another notification says host connection is back to normal. So that's how we can resolve the host whenever the host is down or not responding, or unexpectedly down or unknown state. Any kind of scenario like this, we can validate the possible causes and cross check one by one. Somewhere you can find the solution. Suppose the issue you identified as a ESX hardware have a some problem, motherboard failure. So definitely motherboard is failure. There will be no impact when your host is running under the cluster. VMs automatically migrate and restart on another ESX host. And what we can do in this scenario is contact the respective hardware vendor to get it replace the hardware part. And finally, host will be back to normal. Okay, that is a third scenario, solving the problem, identifying possible solution and implement the best solution. If it is a hardware issue, fix the hardware. And if it is ESXi host affected with a purple screen, fix the purple screen issue by restarting the ESXi host. If it is a virtual machines are highly utilized, it is hung only, but hung scenario, just restart the host agent service. This is the high level overview of troubleshooting process. The same three-step process applicable for all the scenarios of test and development VMs. Now let's talk about troubleshooting process, 5 steps for production scenario. So here is the 5 steps for production scenarios. So following a standardized approach to troubleshooting can help in identifying a problem. Let's understand the 5 points. The first point is verify that a problem exists. Let's say our ESXi host, same scenario. Let's take the same scenario. It's our production ESXi host, but previous one is a test cluster. But now it's a production cluster. ESXi host is down. That is the problem. And the second one, isolate the cause of the problem. But how we can isolate the problem is, as I mentioned, we need to validate layer by layer. If your ESX host is down, first we need to verify the ping status, whether it is able to ping or not. If it is not pinging, let's start verifying, are there any hardware issue, or are there any ESX host level issue, or VM's status level issue, or any environmental issue. We already called up to the data center and they say there will be no data center environmental level issue. So that is closed. And only possibilities are three. And VMs are, we notice that VMs are also up and running, there will be no issue. And when we see the ESXi host hardware, if it is a HP server, HP Synergy, connect to the HP One View and verify the hardware status. If it is a Dell server, connect to Dell ID Rack console and verify hardware status. Let's say hardware level, no issues. And the only option is ESXi. What we can do is using the remote management console, open the virtual console of ESXi host and verify that what is the status of ESXi host home screen. Some scenarios, ESXi home screen will show you some error messages. If it is not showing any error messages, just you can press Alt F12. When you press Alt F12, it will show you the VM kernel log actual error information on the E- ESXi host home screen. When you see that error message, you can find the clue. That is one method. And some cases, even when we press also, we are unable to press the key, it will shows the screen as a purple screen of death. Like our Windows servers have blue screen of death, same way our ESXi host also shows as a purple screen of death. So that means correct the cause of the problem. When if the screen is showing as purple screen of death, it not allow you to connect inside, or even if you press Alt F12 also there will be no response. During that scenario, the only solution is get your respective management approval and plan to restart the ESXi host. But when you try to restart the ESXi host using high availability, all the VMs will migrate and restarted on another ESXi host. So the fourth will be like a verify that problem has corrected or not. Once your ESXi host is restarted, it may boot up normally. But in our, if it is a production ESXi host, definitely your customer and your internal management team will ask for a preventive measure. What is a permanent solution? That is the fifth step. Follow up to the prevent future problems. Let's say your ESX affected with a purple screen. There is a chances of purple screen to your environment, other ESX also. The only solution is we have to export the ESXi host tech support bundle logs and send it to the VMware technical support team. And VMware technical support team will help us to analyze the logs, and they will confirm that there is a some driver issues. For example, they may identify AHCI driver issue. They may provide you the AHCI latest driver. When they provide the respective driver's latest driver, we need to submit a change request and get your customer approval. First test the driver upgrade test on your test ESXi host. Once the test is success, again submit another CR for production ESXi host and do the same procedure on your production ESXi host. Whatever the production ESXi host you have, let's say you have a hundreds of production ESXi. Let's make it schedule, break it into multiple schedule and plan to do AHCI driver on all your production ESXi host. When you perform this AHCI latest driver on other ESXi host, it is nothing but a preventive the future problems. Okay, so this is the 5 steps for production scenarios. Okay, troubleshooting 5 step process for production scenarios. Normally for a test and development we'll go with only 3, but for when we are working on a production environment, we always look for a preventive measures also. Okay, now let's talk. Until now I covered day 0 how to design, deploy, and also the day 2 is like a operations. All the 5 steps we covered. Now I'm talking about a day-n. In our day-n also, as I mentioned, one key point is updates and upgrades. So with interest of our time, I'm not showing you the update and upgrade. Let's talk about one key point in the day-n is how to perform resource reclamation. So normally the resource reclamation, the main concept is it's like a start from the easiest one. Let me show you. See, resource reclamation start from the easiest. Let's say if I have a non-VM means in your vCenter environment, if you have any bulk ISOs which is running with the old version of ISOs, that one you can just clean up. It will help you to clean up your data store space. And if there is any orphaned VM, orphaned means the VM state is showing as orphaned state, those VMs also you can plan to clean up. Whether it can be a VMDK, RDM, or LUNs are connected, anything you, if it is in a orphaned state, you can better to do housekeep. And if there is any power of VMs, first check those all, make a list of all those power of VMs and work with the respective application team whether that VMs are not in use or it is not required by the specific project team. Better to go ahead and remove all those power of VMs. That is also nothing but a, once we delete all the power of the all the virtual machine, the resource will be reclaimed. And same applicable for ideal VMs, oversized VMs and unused VMs. That is how we can start reclaiming the all our resource back. Once you remove all your unused virtual machine, your CPU resource, memory, disk resource will get the free space from our virtual center level and respect to ESXi host level. Okay, so that's it for today. So here is the final point. What are the key takeaways are? We have key takeaways are day 0 means design and day 1 means deploy all the install configuration items, and day 2 means operations. Operations mainly includes the 5 steps. 5 steps is like a best practices, baseline, and also we have to focus on the recovery, how soon we can recover and monitor, and what are all the tools we can use for monitoring to cover all your infrastructure. Finally, troubleshooting process. This troubleshooting also for test and development servers will go with a 3-step process, but for production environment it is a 5-step process which includes a preventive measures also. Okay, and I also explained a one basic example. And the day n is nothing but a life cycle. It includes a update and upgrades, and also it covers a mainly for resource reclamation. So this is the high level overview of all the activities. So this information is helpful when you are attending a interview, whether it is a level 1, level 2, level 3, or level 4. But the interviewer mindset will be like a your skill set is matches to L2 or not, or your skill set is matches to day 1 implementation team, or your skill set is matches to solution architect day 0 team. Normally, day 0 team solution architect will work on day 0, and L3 team will work on day 1, and L2 and L1 team work on a day 2 and day n. So based on your skill set, they will choose this respective tower and they will start asking the questions. Suppose if you are attending for a operations team, focus on these items like your performance monitoring, incident management, change management, and also maintenance and support, vulnerability management system and remediation. Most of the questions will comes related to this operational scope only. And suppose if you are attending for a L3 SME role, you may get the questions in a deployment implementation stage questions like ESXi host build procedure, vCenter build procedure, and how to migrate NSXV to NSXT, and how I can relocate the data center from one location to another location. This kind of questions you may find in the SME and level 3 role. Suppose if you are attending for solution architect, you may expect the questions on a use case scenarios, architecture and design, and high availability solutions, and restoration solution, data protection solutions. Some scenario they will give, and based on the scenario understand the logic and provide the accurate solution. Suppose customer asked for a, I'm planning to move my infrastructure from on premises to hybrid cloud infrastructure. So you can understand what the infrastructure they are using. If they are using a VMware vSphere, you can provide the solutions like we have a 3 options are available: VMware VMC on AWS, VMC on Azure, and VMC on Google Cloud Engine. So when you provide comparison of these cloud solutions and along with the budgeting and licensing detail, customer will validate, and we have to provide a which have a more features, more use cases, which is relevant to the customer business application. So when you provide all this detail, customer will verify, compare all these 3 information, they will finalize the one solution. That's how you can explain in the interview. Okay, hope you understand all these points, and this information is useful for you. Okay, thanks for your time, thanks for watching. Please do view, like, share, and subscribe to my channel Gnan Cloud Garage. Bye for now.